To find out where the outdoor lights are here.
Yeah. I just want to get just a little bit.
Any word on the curtain?
It was weird. Yeah, it was in 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna, I made this up and I was like, I probably should ask. I think.
Conversation. Now, if you'll have before that. It's all
Yeah.
this Cassie's part of.
Oh, yes.
Chamber.
Yeah.
So she said, oh, I still feel it.
Rounds work, they've done it. It's like, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt, hold up. Okay, I'll go.
So that was this. Joe's started meeting.
Oh, you ready?
Oh, jeez.
Your job. Come on, your job. Where are you going?
Last one.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
No, last election.
I was just trying to get it. So.
Election.
Yeah.
You're saying last so long. I was gonna say, I was like, wait, no, you're still. I mean.
40 days, I reckon.
What am I? Just gonna wait, Sue, Henny and Andy, just waiting for Jenna to come back in and then we'll start the meeting with the election of the chair. Just to note that I did, just being, keeping up with breaking my New Year's resolution. I just sent you, an email, with some additional information on agenda topic 7.1. It's just to show you how we're gonna fund the capital that is in those budgets, at the moment. Begin that conversation. It's as if he was running like a special event or something.
Right?
I'm just gonna say that receiving additional information right at the start of the meeting is a problem.
My intent is to walk you through it. All right, so through the chair, at 4:02, we're gonna call the meeting. And we're gonna call for nominations for election of the chair.
I nominate,
Just so I gotta tell everybody how we're doing it. So we'll call for nominations 3 times from the floor. If there are more, I will then ask the person being nominated if they want to serve as chair. If they accept, they'll be put down, and then if there's more than one nomination, one acceptance, we will do an election. So calling for nominations the first time.
I nominate Commissioner Bogle.
Commissioner Vogel, do you accept it?
Yes, I do.
Calling for nominations a second time. Calling for nominations a third time. Congratulations, Brian, on being elected chair for 2026 for
Thank
the
you.
Castlegar District Recreation Commission.
Thank you, everyone. All right. So we will move on to our traditional land acknowledgement. We acknowledge and respect the Indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. Adoption of the agenda. You saw your hand move, Sue, so I'm assuming that was the second. All those in favor? Thank you. Receipt of minutes from December 2nd, 2025. I don't think there's any errors or omissions. Seeing any? All right, thank you very much. And we'll move into delegation. Patrick Cadet from the Kootenai Rockies Disc Golf Society. And you have a couple of your supporters here whose names I cannot remember, and I apologize.
No problem. I'd like to introduce Dylan Smith and Mike Misurata, who are part of our delegation, or our delegation today, but part of our committee. Is it best that I stay here or should I stand somewhere else? They can see me and hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good. We can see you and
Okay.
hear you, Patrick.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here again in front of the commission. It's not my first time being here, and I'm sorry that I'm back repeating myself, but we're here because we had a bit of a glitch with our previous chosen location for disc golf. But I have notes and I did send them to Jenna, but I'm just going to speak to them. I'm not going to read out anything to you. We're here today because our committee, as part of the Kootenai Rockies Disc Golf Society and our working group to develop a disc golf course in Castlegar, we're here to ask the Recreation Commission for permission to put 18 holes of disc golf at Pass Creek Park. That's basically why we're here today, to ask for that. Just some quick background. Our not-for-profit society, the Kootenai Rockies Disc Golf Society, has been working with the city of Castlegar for about a year and a half. And we've been looking at the Canary Park site. The Canary Park site was approved by City Council in the fall, and the city staff asked us to do a species at risk report. So we hired a biologist. The biologist was hired. He did a report. He wrote the report, sent it to us. We passed it on to the city. And if I can just quote from the report that was written in October of 2025. The recommendation is that the Canary Park area be preserved as an existed forested area for western screech owl protection. What our biologist found is in communicating with a Jacob Duleese, who I don't know, Jacob Duleese recorded screech owls in Canary Park when he had set up his listening devices. And Jacob Duleese communicated to the city of Castlegar. I'll just quote, Jacob Duleese has previously communicated with the city of Castlegar about the unique value of the site, Canary Park Forest, for western screech owls. And so the biologist that wrote the report suggests that our society ask the city of Castlegar for an alternative site for disc golf. Having worked with the city for a year and a half, there was one site, and that was Canary Park Forest. And so we're here now in front of the commission asking if we can pivot all our energies to Pass Creek Park. Pass Creek Park location, it's in Area J, RDCK. There was a regional park master plan that was completed in 2015. In this report, it lists zones in Pass Creek Park that are critical for wildlife and other zones that have been impacted already and are used for recreation. There's a campground, ball diamond, soccer field. On the eastern side of the park, there's also a deactivated swimming pond on that east side of the park. On the western side of the park, there's a horse paddock, covered stalls, a covered stage, building for exhibitions, and numerous areas for parking. The lands along the shores of Norns Creek are very important for fun, fish, and wildlife. And it's the report that was written in 2015 clearly lays out the need to protect that riparian zone along this Norns Creek waterway. One of the main objectives of that 2015 report was to have some sort of connection between the west side and the east side of Kinnaird Park. One idea was to construct a pedestrian bridge. And I've had a conversation with Andy Davidoff about that bridge and why it was never constructed, mostly to due to cost, but also because part of the footings of that pedestrian bridge would impact that riparian zone. The other suggestion was to build a walkway or set of stairs from the park up to Broadwater Road so that people could walk then along the bridge that has a separate walkway corridor so that you could get to the other side of Bass Creek Park. Our group, we strongly encourage the development of stairs or a walkway connecting each side of Bass Creek Park because it would really help the connectivity of our disc golf proposal. Disc golf infrastructure. For those of you that have heard me numerous times, disc golf has very little impact upon the environment. It's quick and easy to build compared to other facilities, compared to basketball courts or baseball diamonds or soccer fields. Disc golf is pretty simple. We need a tee-off area. We need sort of a cleared fairway, and we need some baskets. Our course design that Mike and Dylan have worked hard on, just even in the last few days, would utilize existing spaces within the park boundaries that are in areas that are already disturbed or developed for recreation. We would not encroach upon the 30-meter riparian zone in that forested section. Pardon me. Our design would have 2 or 3 holes that are in the forested section up by the ball diamond. And so those would be 2 or 3 holes that we would use some clearing of trees, thinning of brushes. But the rest, the other holes, would have no need for any sort of changing of the environment that already exists.
Would you guys like to, we need kind of a map just to show what a course might look like?
So
It wouldn't be like a final kind of
Mike-
design that a rough design.
Mike used Google Earth and he showed where the 18 holes could possibly go. So I'm going to pass these around and hopefully Jenna will keep a copy of that. What we're thinking is, if you don't mind, I'll just suggest that when we looked at the soccer field that has a parking area that's very near the soccer field, we thought that that would be a good place to start disc golf. And we would use that soccer field parking area as a designated spot where if you came to disc golf, that's where you would park. And then the holes would start, our design would start there, go towards the ball diamond, around adjacent to Pass Creek Park Road, and then down to a lower bench where a couple of holes would be, and we would finish on the edge of the soccer field. That would be 9 holes. Then you go up the path, up to Broadwater Road, across the bridge, down into the exhibition area, and then we would have 9 holes that would cycle through the exhibition grounds. We would have mostly par 3 holes, which are approximately 300 feet long, about 91 meters. There would be a couple of par 4s we hope we would put in, which would be about 400 feet or 122 meters. Budget and timeline. Our committee was successful in getting a ready grant of $9,500 last spring. We spent some of that money already because we had hired the biologist to do the species at risk report, and we had to do a public meeting where we had an open house where we shared with the public our plans for Kinnaird Park, and we had costs involved with that. How much do we have left? We currently have about, just looking for my notes, I think we have about $7,000 left from that grant, $7,900. So I've already sent an email to the Ready Grant people asking them if we had to pivot and change the location of our disc golf course, could we reallocate those funds? They said, as long as you sent us a letter explaining why you had to change your location, they felt that that would be good, but I needed to send a letter in to do that. So budget and timeline, Andy Davidoff promised us the community works grant of $20,000 when we had the Canary Park, and we haven't acted upon that. We've already preliminary ordered 18 baskets. And why we did that is because we were working with Mallards, Source for Sports, and they were able to get a Nova, which has a relationship with Mallards, a Nova Pro 28 baskets delivered to Castlegar, 18 of them for around $10,500. We didn't put a deposit on that, but that offer is still there. We just have to put a deposit down soon for those prices. And if you look at other estimates that we've had, this is a savings of about $3,000 that Mallards was able to get for us at a discounted rate with the Nova. So baskets, 10,500, T-pad construction, about 23,000, signage, installation of baskets and sign, about 7,500. Brushing for those 3 holes that we want to do a bit of trimming in, about 20 person hours, $700. So our total budget would be about $42,000. And we already have 7,900. So we're looking for about $34,000. So I'm here today, and it's kind of, we pushed this envelope. So Jen, I asked Jen if she could get us on the agenda early, because in order to apply for ready grants, which are due at the end of February 20th, we need a location. So we need at least a tentative land use agreement with the RDCK Rec Commission for Pass Creek Park. And that's my report, respectfully submitted and respectfully asking. And if you can tell, yes, I'm still enthusiastic. Yes, I still have energy. And we have a committee that would love to have disc golf in Castlegar. Thank you. I'm sure there's lots of questions.
Thank you, Patrick, for that, very detailed. And I will now go to Commissioner Hanegraaff.
Hi, everyone. I support maximizing the usage of Pass Creek Park, full stop. So if disc golf is one of the ways to do that, I'm in favor of it. The concern I have, and you sort of mentioned it and then kind of breezed by it, you're talking about a bridge that doesn't exist, right?
No.
There's-
I'm talking about the Broadwater Road Bridge that exists right now. We just want to make sure that there's some stairs or a pathway that get up to Broadwater Road.
Okay.
There's a pedestrian lane for across the bridge. So all that would have to be done is to put, there is a trail that goes up and down on each side. But it's a little bit sketchy for for people that would have mobility problems, so we'd have to have like a little bit of steps going up to Broadwater Road on each side.
Okay, good. Okay, because sorry, I lost track of what bridge you were talking about, because there was going to be another. If I can finish, there was going to be another bridge, and the cost was prohibitive, I'm going to say. But if you're talking about improvements to an existing bridge, that changes things for me. And have you figured out what those improvements would be? Do you have any kind of a ballpark figure on how much it would cost to make that bridge more serviceable?
Yes, Henny. What Mike is in construction, and pardon me, Dylan is in construction, and Dylan and I were looking at those 2 paths that are there. One path is 34 feet in length, and the other path is 41 feet in length that's existing right now. And so one idea we had was to build some treated timber steps filled with gravel on those grades to get up to that road. And I was quite keen in making that into our budget, but because it was a goal of the 2015 master plan of the park, and it was going to be trying to achieve, we're asking the question, does the regional district intend to build those steps, or would they like us to build those costs into our project?
So you and I are asking the same question, I think.
I think we could have that discussion about, you know, does the regional district build those steps and then we build disc golf? Or would you like us to budget it in and get funds to build that bridge? Pardon me, to build those stairs. Sorry, I get
Okay,
excited.
thanks for clarifying that for me.
Okay.
Commissioner Heaton, the beat off, please.
Thanks for that, Patrick. Yeah, I had questions about having people go on that bridge because it's, to me, it's a bit of a safety concern too, even though there's the lane there to walk. And just where those steps are, how far does the Ministry of Transportation go over the edge there? What's their responsibility? I don't know if you guys know that, Joe?
Through the chair, we would have to find out where Ministry of Transportation right of way is. The ministry would probably be the ministry would not want to be involved at all. I can almost 100% guarantee that. So they would want to enter into, if it was something that we considered, they would want us to enter into probably a license of some type in order to take responsibility and to manage the stairs. That would be my
And
expectation.
then just back to the report that Patrick had, from 2015, I think was the date, Patrick. What did it say in there about the steps?
Maybe I'll speak, it's our report, so.
Yes, go ahead.
You know it better. So the intent of that report was just trying to identify that there should be a pedestrian access to either side of the park. And it was just choosing what those two options were. So as we know, we have had discussions around the table about a walking bridge. The other option was that there potentially could be, because of that lane designation across the bridge, that perhaps you would do it through a walking trail and just using the ministry's bridge.
Okay, and just last question. We had the cricket club come last month and asked like permission for a cricket pitch on the soccer fields. How would that interact here? Do you see any?
So if I could, I mean, I didn't write it up in our report, but that soccer field existing is not heavily used. And if the cricket group got permission from the regional district to put cricket on that soccer field, it would be an asset to our disc golf course. It wouldn't impact it at all because our holes that we've kind of designed go around the edges of the existing soccer field that has been used for field hockey or soccer. But it could easily be used for cricket.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Because I don't have that map, so I'm assuming Jen is going to send it to us tomorrow or something, just to have the lay of the land.
Can I say one more thing? Besides our group, during the fall fair, those paths up and over that bridge are used all day long by everybody walking from the parking bypass Creek Park over the bridge and down that path. So whether we use it or not, they do get used all the time. It's just especially during the fall fair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner McFadden, and then I've got Commissioner Davidoff.
Great. Thank you again for coming. And I do a few questions. First of all, though, I don't care where it's built. That is my guess will build someday. So whatever we can do, I think, to help with that. It's unfortunate that it wasn't working at Canary Park, but at some point we just need to be able to move quickly. So I appreciate you guys being here too. So two things. For you probably know this already, but for ready grants, make sure you get your letter in before you put your new application in.
Yes.
Otherwise, they'll decline your application right away and then they'll miss the date. It's happened in the past. So make sure you get your letter. so that they have approval. Otherwise, your new application will just get kicked out automatically, and then it's very hard to change that. So get that in as soon as possible, so that you don't miss out on the next application. And next question would be, if you get it tentatively, obviously we're not giving you this right now, but if we give you a tentative, yes, we are willing to look at, same thing we kind of did with Canary Park, we're willing to look at Pass Creek Park. Is that good enough for your application for CBT grant? It's just that you have a tentative location, or do you need an actual, you said something about an agreement. Do you need an agreement before that date? I would imagine getting an agreement for that date is gonna be quite challenging. Yes, I'm saying that's probably not gonna happen, but a letter of intent that, yes, we're willing to work with you, is that good enough?
I'm hoping that if we have a letter of intent for a land use agreement, then we can apply for our ready grant funding and other funding. And then if the land use agreement falls apart because there's something that happens like a screech owl, then that money is returned, right? That's what I'm hoping. But what I'm excited about, if you don't mind me just answering a little bit, is that when the master plan was done for Pass Creek Park, extensive work was done about the environment and about species at risk. And the screech owl was identified a couple of kilometers up the Norris Creek area. And it was written up in the report that it's critical that the riparian zone be left because those black cottonwoods, as Andy and Henny know, those black cottonwoods are really important for nesting and other bird species. And so that screech owl that was known to be nesting up the Norris Creek uses that corridor.
Yeah, and I think my other questions got asked. So thank you again. I really do hope we can figure something out that will work for you guys quickly. Yeah, so thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Davidoff, please.
Yeah, thank you and Happy New Year to our delegation and to everyone at this meeting. Yeah, this gets interesting because highways, any infrastructure in a highway right of way, I mean, we don't have control over that, right? So highways would have to approve that. Moving this into the Pass Creek Park, in essence, becomes an RDCK asset, not the society's asset, and basically the society then would be operating on RDCK property, and this ultimately would become an RDCK asset. So it changes a few things. And even if it was in Canary Park, it would be a city of Castlegar asset. So it would be because the city owns that park, not the RDCK. So in terms of, first of all, the pathway, the connection to the bridge, more accessible connection to the bridge, you'd really there have to be work done with highways. And someone's got to do that work. Either, your society has to do that work, but if it's an RDCK asset, then our staff would probably be working with highways to add that infrastructure to connect, just to make the bridge more accessible as a walkway to connect the two sides of the park. So it's a bit of work, and those things take time, a lot of time. They're not overnighters. Whether you do it and put the infrastructure there, or the RDCK does this, we do it. Getting highways to approve anything is not an overnight process. So just so you're aware, that is not like a 1 month deal. You're talking, Chris is nodding, like we're talking 6 months to a year, Chris, if you're lucky to get any kind of approval, or maybe 6. It'd be 6 months, sort of. Yeah. So that just a reality on that one. Anything built around the cottonwood trees gets very interesting. the cottonwood trees are infamous for dropping branches. And basically, we have worked really hard in Pass Creek Park to keep people away from the cottonwood trees as much as possible as a safety measure. And so that's, I don't know how that impacts your kind of configuration of the disc golf course. So this is something again that, you know, Joe's been around for a long time, and we've looked at those cottonwood stands a few times. So just so you're aware. In terms of support, I did make a commitment of Community Works funds. It'd be a lot easier for me to provide Community Works funds, Area Community Work funds, to the RDCK through Service S222 for this project, because that we will not have an issue then at UBCM, because it is money to support RDCK asset or infrastructure, recreational infrastructure. So that is, it's easier, instead of giving the money to the society. I mean, this would make it easier for any of us that wanted to do it this way, to contribute funds to the service specifically for this project. The other part is, in terms of this project, again, we have the cricket group that are also looking at making some improvements at Pass Creek Park to help facilitate their project. But again, this is also an RDCK asset, just like the soccer field is there, or whatever. It gets it gets just to make it clear, like who then is doing this. We did something in Robson here in terms of, you know, taking on an obligation as well, which just went through the RDCK board. So there's got to be some work done between your group and our staff, and your group or us, on the potential infrastructure placement to make the existing bridge more accessible. And then and all of these things need to be reviewed. Staff needs to prepare a report. Staff needs to then present that to us. We need to review that report. We make a recommendation to the RDCK board. And the way these things usually work is that we don't make recommendations at the same meeting when a delegation presents, because that's contrary to RDCK policy. So there's a time crunch here. If you're relying on ready grants, there's still a lot of work to do, and you really need to talk to like Patrick Cheknika at CBT to see, or whoever your contact is, to say like what documentation, what agreements, like those need to be in writing from CBT to say, here's what we need for this to qualify for a ready grant. And that's, someone's got to do that work. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. And I'm just concerned that this is not like not a 1 month deal at all. So I'm just, maybe to staff, like to Joe and whatever, like what can we do here that's realistic and support the project. Like, you know, I'm in favor of the project. I've got no problem with that. I've got no problem providing Community Works grant funds to Service S222. That would be the cleanest way to do this, to support this. But Joel, what does it look like from staff's perspective about what we need and what we should inform the delegation of moving forward on this?
Through the chair, I think having this information and if it's, so the realistic timeline is, you're receiving the delegation today. At the February meeting, you may ask, because at that point is where you first ask us, hey, we do believe this is a good idea. Can you look at your work plan and see how you could fit this in? Because it hasn't been part of our discussion up until then. So in terms of an agreement, right, you're at least 6 months probably away. I've just knowing what we have in parks, even just to do this, to do a real high level evaluation of it. We've got got some new parks and that kind of stuff on our docket that we need to deal with immediately. So there is going to be a delay in getting it into the queue. But I do just want to say, like, actually this, from a high level point of view right now, this is a compatible use. I don't know if it's a compatible use in its entirety of the drawing. But it is something that would definitely I could see as benefiting the park and the campground and those types of things that go. It does work in that way, but it is not something right now that I can tell you definitively where it would fit in the work plan.
Commissioner McFadden, and then I've got you, Commissioner Hanegraaff.
Great. So a question around timing. So I know from other applications that become for us that you just needed, like, I'm assuming a lot of the applications that come from Ready Grants just need a letter of intent saying that the commission is supportive of exploring this, not an actual agreement in order to go your Ready Grant application. So timing, if we ask for a quick report on this to come back at our next rec commission meeting, which is the beginning of February, or can we as a commission, I'm just wondering what our options are here so we know where to click, not that we're giving direction or even saying yes or no, but any one of us commissioners can at the next council or next commission meeting, put a motion saying we support staff to go out and explore this, which would then give them probably enough of backing to go and actually do their Ready Grant, but not get a whole report back. Is that capable of doing?
Yeah, through the chair. What I would say is, like, one of the things that we've had a little bit of a gap when we take delegations is that we should automatically be putting that on
Yes.
the agenda for discussion, so that will get done because we've identified that as a problem. So that will be done. At that, I don't think you need a report from us to do a letter of.
That's all I wanted. Is that this will coming back at our next, which is the first weekend of February, correct? First weekend, I think it's first.
February 3rd, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that'll be coming back to us to be able to do that, which then we can have a discussion of whether or not we support it in theory, which should give you guys a yes or no to put your application in.
Yes.
Commissioner Hanegraaff?
Sorry about that, bit of a glitch on my end. So when it comes to Ready Grants, not to tell your business, Patrick and friends, but I think last year you only applied to the city. And Area J also gets Ready Grant money. I'm not gonna say what area I might do, but I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for you to not just apply to one group that has Ready money when all three groups are part of the rec commission, and people in all three groups would be using the disc golf. Like I know that Mike lives in Area J. So don't feel you have to restrict yourself to only applying to one group when it comes to ready.
Thank you. I learned that very clearly last spring. Thank you.
Commissioner McFadden?
Sorry, I had one more question around the timing of the bridge area. I know originally when you came to the city of Castlegar, we had talked about doing a 9-hole and then eventually adding another 9-hole. Is that a possibility here too? That let's say the 9 holes on the one side becomes really simple, really easy to do while you work on Ministry of Transportation and options for the second half, if we decide as a commission that we want to go forward with this.
There's also parking on both sides, right? So when we were looking at it, we were thinking we could design it so that you could enter into the course at multiple points, and then it's just a big circuit. So I think there is like 3 or 4 different parking areas that you could design it so that it could be entered from any point. So that would, if there was a delay on the bridge, or then maybe it wouldn't matter so much because people could access both sides.
One of the things I wanted to say, if I can speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah, through the chair. Andy talked about how long it would take to get permission from highways to build stairs. And it could be a long time. That's not a deal breaker for us. We could build 9 holes on one side, 9 holes on the other. And people could just use their own initiative and choose to use that trail or drive around and park somewhere else at the other place. So it's not a deal breaker. But when I read in the report in 2015 that it was an objective to increase pedestrian access to both sides of the park, it became a no-brainer for us to say, we encourage, the development of stairs or a walkway that would make it a lot easier. We used those paths on Saturday and they were really slippery because of the snow. And if it wasn't for Mike ahead of me, I would have probably hurt myself. But I ran into Mike and he saved me because they're steep and they're slippery. But people will still use them, whether you say it's an official path or not an official path.
Right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming. Appreciate the detail and the effort you put into it. So you know that it will be a discussion point at our next meeting, which I believe is February 3rd. So
Thank you. So,
if you want to attend.
One more question, just like we were working with the city and trying to design this other course, and one thing that was hard to find, like when we were working on it, is like what is inbounds and what's not inbounds for a course. Like it would be nice to have someone to touch base. Like we have a lot of areas to work with, so so we tried to design it so it avoided like structures, it avoided the riparian zone, but we actually need to. It would be nice to have someone who knows the park and could just say, you can't put anything here, or this is a good place to put it. That would be really nice to get that kind of like information right off the top, so then we don't waste time trying to figure out something that's not going to work at all. So I don't know.
Not putting it into the staff's, asking the staff to do things, but wouldn't that be part of a report that came out after everything is, yeah. So that's what I figured. Yeah. Thanks, Joe. And again, thank you very much. You're welcome.
So Chair,
Sorry.
just had one more comment. Yeah, I like the idea of maybe looking at this as a phased development, like focusing on that, something that's the least problematic potentially is starting on one side, right, where the soccer field is and things like that. That probably would be the least problematic, and for staff to review, and then how can this coexist with the cricket pitch and things like that. Like that's one thing. The minute you start going over to the other side, that's more work and more planning and more permissions and, people are out there to walk when they disc golf, so the odds are is they'll be using those, those approaches, to the bridge. But I mean, if you guys are okay with saying, okay, phase one is we're putting 9 holes on this side. And then the next phase would be the next part, but trying to nail down the 9 holes on this side by way of report, whatever, would probably be easier for staff. Joe, does that make sense?
The only thing I would say is, let's not suppose which side would be easier. I think we would need to, Carrie is on the call, but one of the things that Carrie and Mark and the operational team would look at is what side, if there was something that we needed to divide it, what side would be easier? I keep playing. What side would be easier? But like I said, I think that this is a great starting point. February is the intent. Just encourage you, like, just to look at the RDCK grant page. That's where your community works applications are, your ready grant applications, and there's maybe some other ones there you might see that are applicable as well. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time.
All right, so give you guys a chance to, if you're going, gather your stuff.
Thanks.
Leave the desks. Way later. We pass this to Joe, so you don't have to play with her.
Here, we should have asked them to do a demonstration, put baskets around the room.
Andy, I did, he didn't bring his baskets.
Oh. We can do his basket.
We only had 5 minutes.
Yeah, we'll
See you guys. Happy New Year.
All right. Move into number 7, staff reports, 7.1, S22 and S227, 2026 draft budget. Mr. Jericho, you're up.
I am up. Start with, sorry, let me just turn this and see what pages I have.
Sorry, I have, I don't know, is it a point of order, point of information? Should we be looking at the document in the agenda or the document that was emailed to us at the start of the meeting?
Look at the document in the agenda and I'll walk you through both. So we're looking at page 11 in the agenda. It says S222 on top of it. Yeah, just making sure.
Yeah, Chair, I've got a very similar kind of question.
Okay.
So through the chair, to staff, the document that was sent at the beginning of the meeting is kind of a 5-year plan document. Whereas again, last time I know I asked, like, when are we going to receive like the 5-year plan for S222 and S227 in terms of the actual budgets? Because we are seeing it in what was just emailed, but we don't see it in the draft budget in the agenda package. So through the chair, just wondering what's the timeline for us to actually see the 5-year financial plan documents for S222 and S227.
That's a good question, Mr. Jericho.
The February meeting.
Not until the February meeting. I'm not sure if you heard that or not, so.
Yeah, through the chair, it's a great question. Just to know that what you see in what was circulated just be the 2027 to 2030 capital plan. The reason you don't have this is our template. So you would have seen this in the last 2 years worth of budgets, what I sent through email, you've seen presented in a formal report. Right now, we're still working through what that 5-year capital plan is. So today's conversation is really around 2026. At the district, just know that even the budget that I'm presenting you today is not the budget. What's not inside the 2026 is the implications of regional district asset management planning costs. And what I mean is the actual funding of the new asset management position and their associated costs. So that will be discussed in detail at the January 23rd special budget meeting. Today, I was looking throughout the day because I thought that there actually might be that finance may be updating our 2026 with those projected costs, but and when I left today, that still had not been updated. So there's really two reasons for this. Is number one is to reinforce the capital plan and that funding piece. But two, also just looking down areas that we're working on still to now. So the requisition amounts have changed from the previous budget. I want to just leave that until we go to the sheet that I sent, because you'll see the difference in requisition based upon the capital funding and on operational funding. And I think there may be discussion around that. So I just want to talk about those changes in the budget. So in particular, if it's clear and not grayed out, that means the changes from the previous budget. So grant and lieu, we're just adjusting that to what the actuals have been for a number of years. Grant and lieu, everybody knows that's Chris, I may get the terminology wrong, but it's PILTs. It's the money for provincial and federal buildings that aren't part of the requisition. So that's what grants and lieu are. So in this budget, the biggest changes are to that funding, the draft projections for revenue are changed with rental income being projected to be higher. I'm going to say that's because of based upon what we're seeing as the results from 2025. What you'll notice is that the proceeds for borrowing from 2025 to 2026 is a lot less. The reason for that is because of this movement of that capital funding through the budget and the projects. And I'll explain that a little bit. We'll be able to explain that more in February, but essentially in 2026, the requisition for capital is increasing from 800 to 900. Those project priorities have changed in those budgets. And that means that we won't need to borrow as much to get through our capital. But what we also need to do is I need to look at that impact going through 2027, 2028. The transfer from reserves is more. Partly the reason for that is that we didn't need to draw from reserve as much as we were planning to in 2025. So what the impact of that, what that means is we've actually had that reserve amount has been sitting in gaining interest instead of us drawing from it. So there's going to be more reserve that we're going to be able to pull out. And through the direct, just stop me if there's a question. Prior year surplus is decreasing. So that's one of the primary changes. Going down, a big change from the way we showed the budget in previously in November, or sort of December. Trying to remember which service we were doing and what month. But consulting fees has changed dramatically. You can see that it's down to 5. Because the number one is that what we are trying to do is identify those projects that may have been in consulting fees, but are going to be funded from that capital program. So number one is the funding for the project. So the $280,000 of project work, that's coming from that overall capital funding. And we had $30,000 in S222, which would have been in that consulting fee line for additional work on facility condition assessments. So the last facility conditions assessments done for this building were done in 2018 and 2019. We're redoing those and doing them to a higher degree of detail than what we did. And that the commission, that work is really fundamental for that planning of this asset management work. So that 30,000 moved down. So I just want, it's still in the budget, but it's in this. The district has instituted some new codes. It's down in the code that's identified as 59712, transfer to project management. The reason for that is that project management is going to manage the tendering and that work being done. So it's down there as $30,000. Just know that right now, as we're developing the asset management plan, where we budget these things, we're still trying to work on consistency across the district, so it still may move around. Part of that conversation will happen on the 23rd. Short-term financing. Yeah.
Chair, I just have a question on that line item 59712. So transfer to project management, that is again going into our service A112, correct?
Correct.
And could you explain maybe to the commissioners that aren't aware of what A112 is? Where this is actually going? That 30,000?
Yeah, thank you. So that's going to the project management in the district has a budget. And that's when it's saying it's going there. That means that at this point in time, it's being transferred to A1. Sorry, the $30,000 would not be transferred to A112. What the actual expense of doing the facility condition assessments would be transferred to A112. So right now, this is just the budget figure. That's what it is. So it doesn't mean that it's going there automatically. That's just what we're budgeting, those facility conditions assessment for this building and for the aquatic fitness center to cost.
So supplemental, Chair.
Yep, go ahead. Thank you.
So that's not an automatic transfer. That's an earmark then of 30,000 that's built into the 2026 budget in the event that that work will start in 2026. Is that what is happening?
Yeah, through the chair. So the work will happen. It's just that we don't know what the cost of that work is. We're estimating it to be $60,000 for this whole facility. 30,000 in S222, 30,000 in S227.
Okay, so the same thing appears in 227. I see that. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And just one more question, Chair, if that's okay. Chair.
Sorry.
Yeah, and this is happening for every regional district asset.
Right. Sorry, not necessarily that amount of money.
No, but yeah.
Yeah, but yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. McFadden?
Or you done this page before I ask my question?
I just want to go through all these different transfers to and from just,
Okay, this probably doesn't have to do that then. A quick question. I think you answered it last time, but I don't remember your answer was. Prior year surplus, what are we doing with that surplus?
yeah, so right now, so one of the changes that we will be making is we're gonna identify what is operational and what is capital. And I'm just gonna do a little bit of a, I'm gonna do a little bit of a cheat right now. All of that 522 is capital.
That's what I thought. Okay, good. Want to make sure. I was pretty sure it was. I just wanted to make sure that I remembered correctly before we did something that I wasn't happy.
Yes, yeah, no,
Thank you.
but I'm gonna, yeah, I'll leave that until I can explain more fully. So, one of the directions of the board was to make transfers more clear. So, transfer to general admin, it's still 59510. Then all the other I think IT is still 59520. That stayed the same. But you can see that transfer to community services changed. So there still is $3,517 in there. I'm going to explain exactly what that's for. What Craig, Tricia, myself, and every manager in our department's been doing has been in particularly looking at the way we were budgeting training. What we noticed last year, over the 2 years, is that training was getting budgeted multiple times for the same training. So we've consolidated where all recertification training, required training for staff to do in all of our facilities are, where lifeguard training, that type of thing, where fitness training, trying to think of the big buckets. I think those are the big buckets. And so we have consolidated all of that. And so that training budget is actually shrunk. You don't actually necessarily see it in a straight way, but it has actually shrunk. And now what we're doing is we're showing what that transfer is from any one particular place to what we project will be the training requirements of the facility. So S222 is quite small because of the types of activities that are in this space. The big training requirements are on fitness and lifeguarding, so they show up in S227.
Okay, so, Chair, I've got just one more question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so when we see the transfer to park services, like last year, transfer to other service, community services fee, that was $340,700. Where 2026, there's gonna be 3517, but the transfer to park services A104 is 95,505, and the transfer to community services A109, service A109 is 257,788. So when you add up the 257 and the 95 and the 3, it's $353,000. But it's split between 3 transfers, and last year it was 340,700. Am I getting that right?
You almost got it right. You want to just add you just want to add the A109 and A112. That's
Oh, that
all
30,000. Okay,
that
plus
is all
30,000.
that would have represented.
Yeah.
The transfer, Director Davidoff, the 59500, that's 1740. It's more comparable to that 3517.
Yeah, so I got a total number then. Last year, our transfer to community services fee was 340,700, but with the 4 transfers now, it's 383,293. Is that? So we're going up by $43,293 from last year.
No, you're not going up 43 for transfer for, community services. But it's,
Yeah, it's roughly, last year, the transfer to community service fee was $347,00. But between these 4 transfers now that we're doing instead of that one, I got a number of $383,293. Now it might be out, but it's 43 something thousand dollars more than what we transferred last year to the community services fee.
no, through the chair. It's, you don't, the transfer to, the only 2 numbers that you compare to the 2025 transfer to community services are 59704 and
Yeah.
59709. So that's a $13,000 change.
Okay, I'm just, like these,
12,500.
ever since we brought in these A100 and services and stuff like that, I've been confused, right, at the regional district board table, because I know we're allocating to a general, like, we set up these services so that park services are all gonna be sitting now in A10, service A104. But it's just like following the bouncing ball can be difficult, right, sometimes. And so maybe staff understands it better, but I'll tell you, for, you know, I don't know, there are some directors that maybe got it nailed, but for me, it's always been, okay, hold on a sec, I'm just trying to understand here what these A services now are all about, because they involve, you know, they include a lot of work goes through those, and money is being transferred to those A services. And I'm just gonna stop there, but I'm just trying to understand the actual, are we raising that substantially, or what are we doing? So,
Yeah, and
thank you.
And through the chair, Andy, it's a great question. Just so you know, A104, A109 have always been costed this way.
Yeah.
It's just that it was rolled up into one line. So last year, A104 and S222 was 89,903.
Yeah.
And it's this year, we're projecting 95,505. A109 was 257,97. And it is 257,788.
But that came out of the 340,700.
That's right, correct.
Yeah, but it wasn't broken down like it is this year. Okay, thank you.
And you can see that the capital expenditure for 2026, we're projecting an expenditure budget of $2,155,000. I'm gonna do I'll do that other sheet together because it moves together.
Okay.
All right, so in S227, there was you can see that the requisition has dropped. Okay. So that's the big change in this one for that. User fees has also been decreased. I'm gonna just let Trish explain why the user fees are projected to go down.
Yeah, so in S227, there's a couple of reasons. So you might recall that we have several closures happening next year. So we have the pool closure, which is extended from what it has been in the past to August 1st to September 13th. And then we have the original ground floor, which is also got quite an extensive closure, which goes from April 27th to August 10th. So much of the revenue impact is in relation to those closure dates and the anticipated reduction in revenue that would be associated with that. Other minor considerations were actuals that we thought were either just something that should be considered, but wasn't actually the larger impact. It was really the closures of the facility due to the capital work next year.
Transfer from reserves is another area where I can't remember if we increased or decreased, because Craig doesn't have the original budget here. But that changed. The 152 in prior year surplus in this one is operational at the moment.
Go ahead.
Is that the decrease in requisition? Is that why the requisition has gone down? It's because we rolled that surplus up. And no matter what, you know what I'm gonna say?
Yes.
I don't care how much taxation is gonna decrease something. I don't like ever using surplus for operational, catches up to us every single time and doesn't do any good. So I would love to know the justification of why we've used that in operational and not rolled that over to reserves or some other capital project for next year or whatever that might look like.
You know, it was because I think because just of where we're at in the budget process right now. And the change, there's a number of things that are impacting this budget. One, and this is not this is not about, but our agreement with employees is significantly increasing the salaries. The loss of operational time with the closure of facilities. So in this case, we thought this might be prudent as a bridge going through, but we still have to evaluate that across the 5-year piece. So we'll try to identify that more clearly in that 5-year in February. I understand exactly what you're saying.
Follow?
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you have a justification for it, which that is a justification for it, I'm fine. Like if it is like, okay, we have, we know that we're gonna have decrease in gains because of X, Y, Z, like you just said. We understand that wages are increasing and we want to be able to smooth that over a couple of years. Like there's a justification for it, it's fine. As long as it's not just to decrease taxation, we say decrease in taxation, which has been practiced from lots of different organizations. I'm not okay with that, but that justification, like that makes sense. And I'm okay, like it's not a massive amount, 152,000, which is not a huge amount to make up every year. That's not a massive amount. So yeah, that totally makes sense.
In here, so the big change, so the, oops,
Sorry.
Sorry, that's okay.
Yeah.
I thought at the first year that we're on the rec commission, we were saying that we didn't want to take surplus from operations to put it back in there, just from what Commissioner McFadden was saying, that it wasn't good use of that money. And so when you come in February, can you have some justification of where that money came from and why you're doing it that way? Just so we can have some, debate on that.
nope, understood.
Thanks, Joe.
Consulting fees, again, that's that $30,000. We moved from consulting fees down to project management. Contribution to reserve, just a note, that equals this investment income and interest on top. So even in contribution to reserve going forward here, you're gonna see through our budgets what the reserve is earning and 2 contribution lines, what is new, like what would be new funding for reserves from requisition, and what would be funding money going into reserves based upon the interest that is happening. But just know that all of these changes right now in the budget, they're definitely moving, it's moving money around, but it's the same money. Capital expenditures, our capital program in S227 is a lot smaller this year. Note that what you'll also get in February is a pretty good picture on what 2025 ended at. I don't have that for you today. So what we're waiting for final is the revenue from the last 15 days of December, but also we're in the last pay period for 2025 comes out this Friday. So by the time we get to the end of February, to that meeting in February, we'll have a pretty good picture of what 2025 ended as. So on that, I want to just move to, Chris, I sent that to you in an email. You got that perfect. So we're just going to go to the front page. I'm sorry that it kind of prints out small, but it doesn't really fit on the letter size for the portrait. The 2026 capital funding, I'm going to start with the page that has the 2026 to 2030 going across the columns. So we're just going to concentrate on 2026. So the capital expenditures, so the 2,185,000 and the 255, note that that is the addition of capital expenditures and the transfer to project management. We had the talk at the last meeting in December. We talked about funding that asset management work from our total funding for capital and asset management. So that's why those numbers don't directly equate to the capital expenditures. It's those two. So that means that we have about $2,440,000 of planned capital expenditures this year. How that's being funded? You can see that $900,000 of that total funding is being funded by requisition. So last year, that would have been 800. This year it's 9. So next year is where you hit the $1 million, which was what our target was coming back from our strategic planning of now 3 years ago, I guess, or year 4, 3 years ago. The surplus in S222 will be funding $534,128 of that. Reserve funding will fund $506,144 of that. There are no planned, it says no planned reserve contributions there. There is that $1,000. I'm not going to put that into this sheet because that's all dependent upon investment returns. And we are required to borrow $538,728. So that equals total funding of $2,479,000. The total expenditures is $2,479,000.19. I can't make that exactly balance when it comes to principal and interest. So the intent of that funding when we started with the commission was that if we borrow to fund capital, that comes from that overall budget amount. The final line along the bottom just shows what that borrowing, how that will be repaid over time. So what you can see is that we're not projecting a full year's repayment on that borrowing. We're essentially saying that borrowing will take place. We'll get the funds in September and start paying it as if it was being paid from September 1st. So that includes 4 months of repayment, and then 2027, 28, 29, and 30 are the full borrowing amounts being repaid, and then 2031 will be the remaining amount. So that repays that principal. On the back of that sheet, and this is the important part because this is just where you may want us to provide some general direction. And this is where I did this a little bit on the percentages, just to show you that percentages can be deceptive. So operational taxation at S222 requisition is projected to increase 5.6% right then in the budget. And we still have work on this budget to do, but that's where we're at right now. Know that there's going to be an additional increase that's not shown in this for that asset management, funding of asset management at the district. Because community services has the most assets, we will be paying the most towards that. But it is impacting. I don't have those figures for you today because that's going to come from finance. But Director Davidoff, that is the line that impacts all the way across the regional district. The capital asset management taxation in S222 goes up 104% this year, but it doesn't. But in the net increase for that requisition across both services is $100,000. So S227 though is where we're seeing the biggest operational increase. That's 19.5%. That's even with that surplus being allocated to operations in this region. And that's really coming from two places. That's where actually S227 is where most of that impact on union wages was found, because it actually contains most of the salary of both services. It's in fitness and it's in the aquatic center. The capital asset management taxation, though, in this service goes down 769.3%. It's really a meaningless number, but the overall taxation in this service goes down 1.3%. So there is the areas that we're still working on. I would say that salaries are about right, like the based upon what our operations are. We have not changed level of service based upon the discussions that we had last year. The things, when I look through the expenses in S227 in particular, because that's where there's a dramatic operational change. It's really in repairs and maintenance, and that's around that pool shutdown work. And we'll need to bring you back some more explanation around that. It's really, this goes to the point that Maria's gonna get me on here. That's about a decrease in surplus from 2025 to 2026. But the operational expenses we really haven't changed. So know that right now, part of the plan for the shutdown is not to lay off lifeguards, but to get them doing cleaning in the center. Because of what our experience was with laying off lifeguards for COVID, where we lost. And then that impacted our service levels. So right now, we're maintaining, even though the pool is shut down, we're not changing our projected schedule of expenses for lifeguards. We're gonna have to be doing extra other work.
Sorry, I was formulating a question in my head, but you go ahead, please.
I'm not saying this to open it up for discussion, but maybe to put it on a radar for you guys to think about. Is there a way to utilize those lifeguards for other programming? Like maybe we're running water safety at some of our parks or some of our beaches or fill in the blank, like swim lessons at Seringa. Like maybe there's a way to utilize our lifeguards and actually give a benefit to community. Well, we're shut down for a period of time where people are using water other than our center. Just a thought to throw on your guys' radar that it might be a good service to offer and there might be a way to do it. Not for like open it up to run down a rabbit trail, but think about it, maybe come back with something that might be a better option than even, like, yes, if you need cleaning done, great, cleaning, but if there's some of that, we can utilize their skills and do something different maybe.
Interesting that you asked that question, because I was gonna say there's, like, I totally understand cleaning is extremely important, but is there a different way we can utilize their particular skill set? So thank you for articulating it better than I was.
Yeah, through the chair. When I'm saying cleaning, we're using it as a pretty broad bucket because we haven't fully flushed out how it is.
Was the reference to bucket intentional, Joe, or?
You know, it's just piling upon each other.
Commissioner Heatchers to beat off.
I was just gonna say, is there any like training they can do at that time, like to further their skills? Things like that besides cleaning, like. So maybe they get all their training done at once and not the rest of the year or something. I don't know, just thinking with a head cold here.
Oh, that's a good point as well.
And Commissioner David, up there was a bar up above you and I didn't see her. I thought your hand was up, but I wasn't sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I just to summarize, Joe, like on that second sheet that you sent us, the figures for 25-26 in terms of total taxation match what you sent us in the agenda, right? Those numbers already.
Yes, sorry, yes, yep.
Yeah, it's just that the capital asset management taxation piece is the only thing different there, right?
All I'm doing is breaking that out for you.
Yeah, okay, so then just to summarize, in service S22, we are facing an increase in requisition of 20.1%. In service S227, we're facing an 8.3% reduction in total taxation in terms of the requisition. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then the other piece, and this is something that passed at the last meeting and at the RDCK board table, that 20%, 20.1% is $569,290. And of that $569,290, $280,000 is the money allocated for the new arena project, correct?
Right, that's in the capital bond, yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Andy, your hand's still up. Did you have a follow-up or?
No, not at this time, Chair. I just
Okay.
need to see the final,
Yeah,
that final
I-
tweet in February, then I can speak to it.
okay,
better. Yeah, thanks.
no problem. Commissioner Heatchers to beat off.
Thank you, the chair. So that 280, the intent is if the project proceeds, that would come out of the capital that the city of Castlegar and area J would pay back. Is that correct?
Correct. So if a referendum succeeded,
Yes,
then that would be repaid by the new service that is created.
yes. Okay, just wanted to get that out there.
Right. You're good?
I'm good, you're good.
Okay. Does anyone else have any more questions on this? But right now, I'm sure there'll be less next month. Well, I'm thinking there will be. Thank you very much, Joe. And we'll move on now to 8.1, 2026 proposed meeting dates. I'm not sure who's covering that.
We'll be sending out the scheduling pool for the dates that we had discussed, so that will be coming out this week.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That was short. I was saying about those questions. Pardon me?
Correspondent. Oh, sorry. So that being at the end.
So for once, I was actually following the.
You're right.
You're doing a great job.
Okay.
All right, number 9, correspondence, 9.1, letter from the Castlegar District Minor Hockey Association. And I'm not sure who's handling that one. I assume it's staff, right?
We'll pull it.
Okay, you'll pull it, great.
Yeah, just for, staff gives an update on practice and why banners haven't been put up, or do we have a policy on these banners, the requests that they have?
So through the chair, there was a request to try and standardize that process across the district. We do have a guideline for the facility. We could follow that. This would, I understood, based on these conversations before Christmas, this would meet the policy being put up.
Okay,
Oh, sorry. This would meet our previous guideline of putting it up.
but not our current one, or we have finalized?
We haven't done the.
Yeah, that's okay. So is their request in this letter doable? I think they wanted one up by January 24th. And then the other ones, I think consecutively after that. Is this, so we can give an answer back to them? Do we know, is this doable? by then?
It's, as far as I'm aware, my understanding is that it's doable. Sorry, Craig was unable to attend tonight, but
Do you need a staff motion to do that, or is that operational because it falls within our?
we just wanted to make you aware.
Okay, great. Anyone have any questions on that? I'm not seeing any. Perfect, thank you. Page. And now we'll go to public time. If there's any questions from the public, or including those online, have them now. We'll start in the room. No, but welcome. Thank you, Catherine. Anyone online have any questions? I'll ask again. I'm not seeing any. Anyone online have any questions? No? All right. Thank you. I will call for adjournment.
Next meeting date.
Oh, sorry. See, I had to do one. I had to mess up.
For me.
Yeah, thank you. So the next meeting, before we call for adjournment, will be on February 3rd, 2026 at 4 p.m. here in the Castlegar District Community Complex, as well as online. And now I will call for adjournment. All right, all those in favor? Thank you. Thank you, everyone online. Happy
Thanks,
New Year.
everybody.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
We'll see you.
Get better
All
soon.
We'll see
the
you
best
guys.
in
Thank you.
2026 to everybody.